This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Welcome to all the new Slayers joining us on our movement, no matter how you found us, whether it was by way of a solo episode, guest episode, Instagram, an interview, you see me sharing this in my stories, Facebook, or if you have seen me on YouTube, because I have seen my subscribers go up. And so, hey y'all, hey, thank you for subscribing. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube page, go ahead, get subscribed so you can see me. You know, it's one thing to hear me in your ears, another thing to see. Again, and I've said this to you all before, like I am working on creating more videos and making this a both audio podcast and a visual podcast. So we are working on that. We hit 60,000 downloads this week, y'all, and I'm so excited. Like, man, y'all just do not know. Like, I'm like, we are in what, the third week or fourth week of Thanksgiving. We're in the third week of January, and I'm like, if this is just the beginning of where we're going to be, and this is the start of it, like I cannot wait to see how this year is going to pan out. And because we're trying to hit 100,000 downloads, like, thank y'all. We need 40 more thousand, not 40, but 40,000 more. Okay. But I'm still excited about the 60. Let's go. Talk to me Tuesday, every Tuesday at noon. I'm digging in a little deeper into the podcast. I'm sharing a little bit more. It's about 15 minutes. So, I recognize that I have followers on Instagram that may or may not listen to the podcast or watch it. And so I want to use that opportunity to be able to connect. So if you're listening on the podcast, excuse me, if you listen to the podcast and you say, hey, I want to be able to connect, find me on Come and Talk to Me Tuesday. Or I think it's just Talk to Me Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time on Instagram. That is where I am. It's a good 15, 20 minutes. That's about it. And share with me your thoughts of the podcast, or, whatever questions you may have. This is us building community. Okay. Outside of me just talking in your ear. If you are a small business, if you have a business, a product, or a service, I want to be able to use my platform to advertise your business. So if you are interested in partnering with me, I need you to go and click advertise with us on the website or in my link in my bio on my social media. Okay, let's get into this episode. So the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about the story that I was sharing with you all that, had of the disappointing news I got back in December, and how I was managing it all and how I was feeling. And so a couple of weeks ago, we talked about checking in with your feelings and really feeling what you feel when you're disappointed and addressing those issues so that you can move forward. And then the last episode, we talked about taking inventory of what's happening, what has happened, what is happening, and what's coming. And sometimes that will change your outlook on the disappointing factor, because when you're aware of what was present and what you have and what you have had and what is coming, then sometimes that disappointment seems very minimal, right? It seems like it's not as big as it is. It's not, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but what I'm saying is that when you focus on the present and you're content with where your life is right at that moment, it kind of changes the way you look at the disappointing situation. Okay. So today we're talking answered prayers. So if anybody has been in this situation that we've been talking about, like I'm hoping this resonates with you. And to for myself, I've had this same situation happen on different types of instances, right? Different situations. So last week I shared that, God is always working on our behalf, no matter what is happening and what it doesn't seem like it's moving, or if it looks like it's a delay, like God is still working, right? And so let me back up and I'll tell you the whole story, and then we'll get all the way to the end, because I know I just been giving y'all, and I know, some people on here like, well, what is she talking about? Matter of fact, right? So this is a side note. When I made the video back in December, I actually had somebody who came to me and was like, what was the disappointing news you got? And I was just like, what? Because I be forgetting sometimes what I say and share. So I was just like, oh. And I was like, I don't even want to say right now, because it's stuff is still in motion. And so let me be quiet, because the Lord works. Okay. And if it works out the way I think it's about to work out, I'm going to shut my mouth. Right. So for the past, I don't know, if you've been on this journey with me, this Slaying Self-Doubt, the podcast, the business, the name, everything was birthed from my small groups within my church, Zion Church, DMV, Pastor Keith Battle. If you know, you know. Okay. And that was back in 2016. I started a small group. It was named something else. I do not even remember the name of it at this point in time. But at the beginning of 2017, God gave me Slaying Self-Doubt. And the first thing he told me to do was to change the name of the small group. I changed the name of the small group, and instantly I got like 15 people who wanted to sign up. Then I, what we talked about was Slaying Yourself Doubt. I literally had no idea what was happening, like why, all the things. Like I did, still self-doubt. It's me, right? So I was just like, okay, Lord, we're gonna do. So then a year goes by, some people left just due to scheduling, and that's just how small groups work or whatever have you. So I went to go reopen the group, and I only had 3 spots, and 11 people signed up. And I was like, what? And I was just like, okay. So the Lord was like, open another group. So by 2018, I had 2 groups of 20 something women that I was, pouring into. We were pouring into each other, having the doing life together. And so in the midst of that, with my OGs, that first group, we were talking about, I was telling them about this podcast and what God had put on my heart, and all this other stuff. Now, mind you, at the same time that this is happening, right? In 2018 is when God told me it's time to go. Like, if this is the story. God told me it was time to go in 2018. Yo, I hadn't even done anything. Like, the only thing I did, the first thing that I was obedient about, was changing the name of the group. That was it. That was literally all I did. And I think I actually just came up in January of I think January of 2018. I started the podcast. No. I started not the podcast. I'm sorry. I started my Instagram page, and I was just like, okay, God, this is what you want me to do. He was like, I just create the name, put it on, create the social media page, and just put quotes. I would find quotes on Pinterest and, what it had to do with. And I just kind of was like, okay. I'm like, one of my very first posts was like this picture that I created. Um, on, I think it was Word Swag. I think that's what I use. Oh, I don't know what I use actually. But it really just said, I'm here to help. Well, God gave me a vision to help women with their doubts, fears, insecurities. I'm just this vessel. It's something to that aspect. And then it says slaying self-doubt at the bottom, right? That's literally the very first post I ever posted. I don't under the name, like, and I just kept going, right? So this entire time that we've been talking about this over these last couple of weeks, I've been talking to you about obedience and how things just move, right? So fast forward to 2021. Yes, 2021. At this point, I've had 3 life groups, all under the name Slaying Self Doubt. I am now a life group coach. So I coach other leaders to, do their life groups and all the other stuff. And so at the end of 2021, or the beginning of 2021, God was like, well, he had told me before, like, these groups are only going to be for 3 years. They knew. And so I think it was March of 2021 was the end of my last life group. That was it. We ended, moved on. So a couple of months go by, and I'm still a coach. I knew I wasn't going to lead any more groups because that's not what God was leading me, but I still was coaching, right? And I still was just, fine. So then, like, a couple of weeks later, God put on my heart, like, reach out to the person, at the time was an assistant of the director, to tell her that, like, you want to support, like, you want to be a part of it, because I really just felt like they had given me so much, unbeknownst to them, right? Like, just doing the life group and what came out of it. Like I said, like, literally from 2016 up until now, like, all of this started from that. And they didn't know that, but I wanted to be able to still support them because I believe in it, right? Reached out. She said, "Oh, great. Just like perfect timing." I didn't know at the time that the director had actually retired. Within, like, I don't know, 6 months, the person that I initially talked to was promoted to global director. And so now she's over top of everything. Like, oh, cool, so proud of you, deserving, all of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we're still in conversation. And I'm like, listen, I am, whatever you need help with, however I can help you and serve, like, I'm willing to do that. I have my own stuff going on. Like, I'm not saying that I'm, I just, she's like, okay, fine, cool, whatever have you. So we're talking, we're going back and forth. And there would be times where weeks would go by, we wouldn't talk. Keep moving. I'm still moving. I'm still going forward. I'm still doing all these things. So 2022, we had this conversation, and she's like, I would like to bring you on under, like, the campus that I had been a coach and a leader was the online campus. And, you can help the campus manager, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, if that's what you need, how I can help you, I'm Gucci, right? Like, that's fine. I'm cool with it. Like, we're going to keep it going, right? So then we're moving, we're dealing, we're doing stuff, we're not doing stuff. I'm kind of like, okay, let me know what you need, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to one day, I'm folding clothes. And you ever have a moment where you, like, can distinctly remember what you were doing? Like, whenever I tell people this story, I'm always doing this. Y'all can't see me if you're, if you're not watching YouTube, but I'm always doing this because I was folding clothes at the time. So I was, like, folding shirts, and I'm watching the sermon. And right in that moment, God was like, tell her you want to work full time. And I said, why? I don't. Now, to be perfect honest, in this moment about the situation, even while that thought even came up, right? I, over the last year or so, I had been in a space where I was like, I need house money and I need business money. Why? Because my son got into domestic and we have to pay tuition. And this is the sacrifice that, as a parent, like, this is what I wanted for my kids. I would like for both my kids to be able to go there. I prayed on it, all this other stuff. Like, everything worked out in a way that it was supposed to be that way. And so I was like, at the end of the day, I know that this is where my children are supposed to be. This is where they're supposed to get this part of their education. And so, in being realistic with myself about what life looks like now, remember, I left my job on a leap of faith and thinking God was just gonna be like, the doors is open, right? Like, and here we go. Like, you're just gonna get everything. I literally left that job not knowing what I was going to do. I did not know that I was going to eventually become a coach. I did not know that I was going to be a speaker. I did not know that I was going to be dedicating like 90% of my time to growing this podcast. I did not know that I was going to be out of work longer than 6 months. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was going to be able to make this my living. That is not what I thought. I legit thought, full transparency, I thought God was like, I'm gonna give you a break, sis, and then you're gonna go back to work in January. That's what I thought. I thought I was gonna be able to take the summer and the holidays off with my family and enjoy my kids and all that other stuff. And I thought I was gonna go back to work. I was just gonna find something. God was gonna give me something greater. And this would have continued to be something that I do. I did not know this was going to be me. I didn't know that this was going to be. So when I left my job, my kid is in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? So by the time we get to this place of high school and all the things that's happened, the panorama and all of that stuff, life hits you, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm in a routine now. Like, there's certain things that are happening. My son's father and my husband have shifted their schedules to be more present for the kids and to be able to do certain things. I'm like, these families work nights. Like, how am I supposed to, what is going on? Like here we are in this space that, like, I'm about to have 2 kids in high school. Like, this is real. Like, real life is happening, right? So that initial thought of like, you should ask her for a full-time position, it wasn't weird at all about like, that seems out the way, like blah blah blah. It really was like, up until this point, like, I had been asking God, what you want me to do? I had applied to jobs. I had been on the job fairs, like virtual job fairs. I had been reaching out to people that I knew from previous industries to say, like, what did it, and when I tell you nothing panned out, like, I was sending my resume to like everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, like, okay, I'm going to apply to at least 5 jobs today, and I'm going to still do this. I still was being obedient, but also recognizing like the reality of the situation, right? Like, Lord, like, what are you doing? Like, what's about to happen, right? And so, um, so, okay, so this is real. House money. We need house money and we need business money. These both have to work because things are happening, right? Boom. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, again, folding the shirt. Like, you want me to? No. Like, if she wanted me to do that, she would have asked. How about that, right? How about, like, that's what we do. We be like, if it's for me, God, like, then they would have said something, or you waiting for somebody to come say something to you. And basically in that moment, his command to me was, open your mouth and ask for what you want. And I was still like, well, no, I'm not sure. So we had a call that day. Happened to be, I had already, y'all. Like, when I tell y'all that when you see me, slaying self-doubt is me, and I am like, this is really me. I'm not lying. Like, I'm dead serious, right? So that day I knew we were having a meeting. I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna say nothing unless she brings up something about me working on the team or whatever have you. And even if I do say something, I'm going to do it at the end. And I'm hoping that the conversation goes so long that I just got to go pick my kids up and then I'll send her an email. Like, it literally, I had already talked myself into how I was going to not do it. Like, I'm not the only one, but I was just like, okay, so eventually basically it's going to end up being an email. I'm going to just say, I don't have to say it to her, right? That's not how it works. We get on this call. I'm talking to her. I can tell something's wrong. And just like me, my natural whatever shows up. And I'm like, what's wrong? And so she's like, I just did the third, blah, blah, blah. And she just starts crying. And I was like, what is wrong? What's going on? And so then she just basically says, like, I need help. And I can't do this by myself, but I'm wearing myself thin. And I said, ooh, you is petty. That's what I said to him. Cause I was like, now you knew I was trying to get myself out of this, but you gonna put me in a situation where I cannot not say something. And I was just like, I let we had the conversation, and then I was just like, all right, listen, I wasn't even gonna say nothing because I don't talk myself out of it. And I was like, but the Lord told me to do it, and so I gotta be obedient. And I was just like, I would be honored if I can work with you on your team. However, I can help you and serve you. I know it started off as like just assisting, whatever have you, but if you had full-time position for me, whatever that may look like, I'm here for you. And she was like, thank you so much. Bet I'll get back to you. We finished our conversation, moved on, right? I can't even tell you what month that was, but fast forward to December 5th. December 5th, she sends me an email that says, hey, it's a hiring freeze. I don't know, hopefully I'll let you know. But for now, going into 2023, there's a hiring freeze, and I'll keep you posted. My response was, already then. Like, literally nothing I could say. Like, I was just like, okay. But in that moment, remember, I'm telling you, we need house money and we need business money. And here I am saying, like, Lord, I did what you said. I asked for it, and here we go. And I'm already thinking, like, okay, this is going to help us in this area, and this is going to help us in that area, and we're gonna be able to do this, and we're gonna be able to do that, and pop, 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 pop. And so now I'm like, we back to square one. We are literally back to the beginning. Like, what the crap, right? That, and when I tell you, when I was like last week and I said I was saying like you Alabama, that's why I was feeling that way, because I was feeling like, young, you like everything was aligned. You aligned everything, and then you hit me with this. Like, realistically, I get it, all of that stuff. Like, I've been on the other side of that, so I know what that means. But I was just like disappointed, right? So when I tell you feel your feelings and go, that's what I had to do. I had to leave the house. Like, I was so hot, y'all. I had to leave. So that's when I went on a walk. That's when I checked my feelings. Then that's when I did my inventory. And then I made the video, got in the car, went home, got to work, did what I needed to do for the day because I had other stuff that was happening. And remember last week I said, when you're saying things that are coming, when I was talking about the stuff that was coming, I was like, you know what, Lord, like, whatever's supposed to be is supposed to be, because I just got hired for a speaking engagement for 6 months from now. I just got asked to do another event 3 months from now, right? People are already reaching. I'm like, on the same day, I have a podcast interview with someone else, and I keep asking you to expand my territory, right? So you're answering my prayers. It just don't look the way I want it to look. It don't look the way I think it's supposed to. It don't look the way I needed to look right at this very moment. But you are answering my prayers. And so I have to be mindful that things are still happening. And so at the beginning of this, I said, God is always working on our behalf. He was still working, because by the end of the exact same day, December 5th, she sent me an email and said, this does not apply to you. I've already spoken to who I need to speak to, and your position was secured. This don't apply to you. We're moving forward. I was just like, oh, okay. Well, so then you start to feel dumb, right? Because this morning I was mad. And now I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Okay. But even still, I'm still just like, but the way things been set up, I don't even know. I will believe it when I see it, right? So then, like, the next day, she hit me and she's like, somebody from HR should be reaching out. I said, okay, heard nothing. Continue to, again, going about my business, not saying nothing. I didn't even share with anybody. Like, I didn't tell nobody nothing was happening. By this time, my husband was like, I don't want to hear nothing else about this until you sign your name on the dotted line. Like, just at this point, he'd been through the whole thing with me. Like, what happened? What's not happening? This, that, all of that. So I was just like, okay, fine. And kept going. By that Friday, it still didn't look like the way I thought it was going to look like, because it ended up being part-time, which is fine for me because my life is still my life, and God knows what I needed, and he knew what I needed at this time. And he knew that if he gave it all to me, the dysfunction, the disorder, the um disruption it would have been in my life to have to have a full-time job right now, I would have been all over the place. You might not even be hearing me in your ear. I might not have had time to even do a podcast, right? And so what he was doing is like, here it is, like him still saying like, I'm going to give you I'm working on your behalf. Don't worry about it, daughter. But it's not going to look the way you think it's going to look. I'm still blessing you. I am still giving you favor. I am still doing these things, but it's got to look away because I still have something else for you to do. Because if I gave you all of this, the other thing that I called you to do will fall by the wayside, and that is still work. That is work too, right? And so it took me a minute to, like rush down. So when she said, it's gonna be part time and this, that, and the third, and we'll just see going forward. And I was like, it's all good. Like, it's cool. Like, whatever God has for me, He has for me. My second point for today is that things happen in an instant, like literally by Friday. This happened on a Monday. 5 days later, I'm an employee, right? I've gone through this phase for 3 years of like, what's it gonna look like? What am I gonna do? What is this gonna happen? And in a matter of 5 days, I went from sorry, thanks for coming out, God bless and good night, to being you're an employee. Like for most people, that don't make no sense because that's not normal. That's not how things are supposed to happen. There's a process that's, but no, not at all. Like God was like, that don't apply to you. Disregard, skip this. And when I tell you, so my points for today, because it's all gonna make sense, it's like God is always working on your behalf. Elevation will happen suddenly, and God will create space for you and your gifts, right? So God is always working on your behalf. That's this whole story. Elevation can happen, will happen suddenly. Whenever God says yes, it will. That's just the end of that. When the lady from HR hit me and she called and she's like, okay, I'm going to send you this to the this, that, and the third. I didn't fill out no application. I didn't have to send no preferences. I didn't have to create, update, or send a resume. I think whatever I had, I added, because when she called me, her response was, this position is for you. Legally, which I already know, we have to put it out there. But as soon as you put your information in, it is gone. This is for you. No one else can have it. No one else can touch it. I don't care if somebody else happened to go on whatever the site they have and they saw it and they tried to apply for it. It's not theirs. It is yours. It does not, it's there, it's open for people to see, but can't nobody have it. This got your name on it. And when I tell you, all I did was put my name and my email and telephone number, and they was like, thank you for your submission. And the process just went one thing by one. Can you fill this out? Can you send this? Can you do this? Here's your stuff for you. Fill out your W-4s, fill out your taxes. And I'm sitting here like, what? Wait a minute. What? Like literally by that evening on Friday, I'm like, did I just fill out a direct deposit form? Like, it was blowing my mind what was happening because it was suddenly. It was by that night I had an email that said, welcome to Zion Church. And I was like, what the crap? I could not have planned that. That was not me. It wasn't. But because I was obedient in that day when I was folding clothes, right? God created the space. And instead of me choosing me and my insecurities and my fear and my worry about whether or not it was going to happen or whatever the case, I leaned in. I did what I was supposed to do begrudgingly. I did it anyway, even though I didn't want to. I just told you that. I did it. And God said, when it happens, it will happen. Now, I told y'all at the beginning of this what I initially asked for and agreed to help with. It was supposed to be for our online campus underneath the campus manager. I'm filling out these forms, y'all, like filling them out, going through all the stuff. I read the JD and all that stuff. I kind of glanced through it. I'm like, okay, fine. Because one thing I knew was that there wasn't an actual position. So there's that. They created space for me. God will create space for you and your gifts, right? I read it. I already knew that was happening. When I got the email that says, welcome to Zion Church, went to log into all of the stuff that they have, and it said position. And I had, like, when I tell you I had to pause, like, I was just like, hold on, how did I miss that? What do that say? It says that I am the assistant manager of life groups. So I literally had to pause because I said what I thought was, which again I would have been fine with, was on a campus underneath another person. And whatever, however God was going to use me, he was going to use me. But when God created space for me in an organization, in a department that literally changed my life, he said, I'm gonna put you in a position where you can make change. I literally have the position the global director has now, the position she had when I reached out to her and said, how can I help you? He literally gave me space where I can make change, where I can use all of my gifts as a leader. Like I've said this multiple times, y'all. I don't ever think I could be a regular employee. I have to be in leadership. But in this moment, I was willing to serve wherever I could in that department, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. God literally, nothing existed, and he created space for me. He created space for my the position I needed, for my gifts, for my talents, for everything that he put in me, and also for me to be the example of like, this is what happens when you are obedient. Remember, I told y'all the obedience started when I changed the name of the group. I didn't do anything else but just give it a name and see it all the way through. So when I was sharing this with people and I said, y'all, you don't understand that this is a full circle moment for me to be in a position, in a department, in an organization that literally helped create the woman you see in front of you. Slaying self doubt would not exist without life groups as Zion Church. And God said, I got you. You're going to go in there and you're going to help somebody else do the same thing. You're going to give everything that I poured into you. I'm going to give you the position to pour back into other people. I have no words. I have no words, but thank you. I have no words, but I'm grateful, right? And so after all that happened, it still was like really weird to me. Like it felt so surreal. So remember, I told you I had vertigo over the holiday. So as I was going to the doctors, when I realized, like, I was like, oh, something wrong with me. I need some medicine, whatever. And I kept saying to myself, am I anxious? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is going on? Maybe it's just anxiety. Maybe it's, I don't know. What is deep down? Like, what is, flustering me? It's like what I was thinking. Um, and so I had this thought, right? Like I was just like, is it about the whole thing with school? And is it about specifically for my son? Like I like my fear had always been like, what if we get started on this and he can't finish because financially we can't afford it? That would make me feel like crap. And so like I'm literally having this moment where I'm like pouring out my heart to God. And then it hit me. I'm literally living God's dream for me. Oprah said that. I seen a clip of something. I think she was at Tyler Perry something, and they was like, "What's Oprah's dream?" And she was like, I wake up in God's dream for me." Like that's what I said, I have the ability to work at an organization that created the person that I am, right? Help mold me into this person to be able to give you all this. Like what you see is a manifestation of me, what I did when I didn't have a platform, when when there was no podcast, when it was just the name, right? And I get to still do the thing that God called me to do. Like I am literally in my sweet spot. There are people who go to their grave who never get to feel this thing. And when I tell you the tears just poured from my eyes, that I was just like, my God, like I am literally, this is what people are praying for. I am living an answered prayer. I am living the prayer that it was in my journals of God. I know that there is more for me. God, I know that this cannot be it. This is the answered prayer of how do we do this? This is the answered prayer of house money and business money, right? This is the answered prayer of every prayer that I have prayed up into this moment, to say, like, use me. I'm your vessel. What you want me to do, I got you. Like, I'm here. Unleash me. All of those things, right? I literally just boohoo cry. I said, I'm gonna go into this doctor's office. This lady gonna think I'm crazy because my nose is red, my cheeks is red, eyes bloodshot. But I just had a moment in the car and was just I was so grateful, so thankful, and I still am. Like, every day I wake up like, yes, extra work or whatever have you, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't, because let me be clear. I would not have taken any other position at that organization. Not to say that like, I wouldn't want to work there, but I wouldn't have taken any other position because it would have been a waste of my time and my talents. This was designed specifically for me. And I believe that had I not taken that approach, when the news came to me that was like that when they were like, there's a hiring freeze or whatever have you, I believe that if I truly believe that had I been like, man, this is the reason why, and blah 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 blah, and just so upset, and I hadn't taken a posture of, girl, get yourself together, and checking my attitude and taking inventory and being content and then getting to work, I don't think I would have. I don't think it would have happened. I really don't. And the reason why is because I have been in multiple situations where the same thing has happened, and I complained my way out of it. I think that what I did was that whole week was a moment of surrender. I literally surrendered to God's will. I literally surrendered to whatever it is that was going to happen. I did not fight it. I did not argue with it. I just was like, cool, like, whatever. Like, all right, I'm not. I didn't even speak on it. I didn't say anything. I filled the paperwork out and then called my mama. Right. Like, and she's like, wait a minute. I didn't even know that blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody knew. I didn't say anything because I had to see it all the way through. And that was a moment where, another moment where I could say I trusted God and I watched him walk this thing all the way out. I literally did not know how this was going to end. And I ended with a leadership position in the same organization, in the same department, that literally helped transform my life. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. So for me, I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep being obedient because I've seen it work more than one time. I've seen the disobedience not work, and I've seen the obedience work. And so I'm gonna continue to bet on him. I'm gonna continue to just be obedient, do what it is that he has called me to do, and not waver, because he hasn't and he won't. And for me, I am forever grateful. Life is going to look different, and in regards to the podcast and things that are happening, um, because sis got a job now, right? And so it's stuff had, things are different. And this year, of the year of doing, for me, has to be working smarter, not harder, right? And so you'll make it solo podcast, but they may be rewinds, right? Instead of me putting this press on myself that I have to continue to push, 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 I have over 200 episodes over the past 3 years, and some stuff is still applicable right now, right? And so for the month of February, we going y'all gonna get some rewinds. It is solo episodes, but because of the way this conversation is going, every single time I kept thinking about it, I was like, obedience is our responsibility. And in 2021, I did a series called Obedience is My Responsibility. And I broke that thing down, what it looks like to me. And so for the month of February, that is what you will be hearing in your ear, is the rewind of that. And I really want you to take this first quarter of your life, and this first quarter of this year, and really think about, what are the things you need to be obedient in? What are the things you need to surrender to? What are the things that you need to change in order to be able to fully do what it is that God is calling you to do? you're not going to get it right every single day. I am living proof of that. It ain't going to happen every day. But we got to start. We got to stop with this thinking that somebody just supposed to ask us for something. Like I'm telling y'all, I would have missed out on this whole opportunity if I kept my mouth shut. Like if I had never said anything, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be sharing this story with you. I'd be talking about something else, which would still have been impactful, but it wouldn't have been this. And I still would have been in a different space. But because I surrendered and because I was obedient and because I did it in spite of my self-doubt, I slayed on that moment in that day, on that day, I slayed my self-doubt and was like, okay, I wasn't gonna ask you, but this is what the Lord told me to do, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. And you don't know what other people need. I did not know she needed help in the way that she needed help. I just was like, let me just stick my pinky in it. Like, I'm going to help you out here. But now being on the other side, I was like, now, how in the world was she doing this all by herself with no assistance for the last couple of years? Like, and now I'm like, this is my sweet spot. Like, let me help you. Let me do this for you. Let me show you how this supposed to look. Oh, this supposed to happen. Oh no, this supposed to happen. No, we need to do this. We need to do this is the, and I can tell like already she's like, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful. If I don't say every single day she tells me, I just want to thank you for agreeing to do this. I want to thank you for asking me. I want to thank you. It's literally, she don't know that I was being obedient. It's like, thank you for your obedience. Thank you because I need you. Thank you because I need your help. Thank you because I needed this. And so I'm just telling you, you have to be obedient. And I know this episode is gone longer than normal, but I need you all to know that like if this is the year of us doing, you have to do something different. And obedience is doing. It's not just hearing. It's not just hearing, it's actually doing. This action behind it. Like you can hear God's word, but then you have to obey, right? You talk to a child, you talk to whatever, you tell somebody to do something, it's one thing for you to tell them, but the obedience becomes when they do it and you see that it's done. Let me get out y'all ear because you right now, somebody is just like, stop talking, turn her off, turn her, just, I don't want to hear it. It's fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I know. I just want you to know I know. So again, we talked about that God is always working on our behalf, that elevation will happen suddenly. God will create space for you and your gifts, and you have to be obedient. As always, thank y'all for rocking with me. If you enjoyed this episode, you enjoyed this podcast, and you find that every time you listen to it, it resonates with you, please consider making a donation by buying me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. The link is on my website. The link is in the in the link on my Instagram. And I told y'all I'm trying to grow. I want to be able to create a podcast studio to make it more visually appealing. And so I need y'all help. Alrighty. Jesus in Therapy, as always, take charge of your mental health and get 10% off your first month of therapy at betterhelp.com. That's HELP/slang SLAYING. Make sure you subscribe to the Slayer Nation newsletter. We're doing those once a month, so y'all should be receiving something soon. Share this episode with at least 10 people or 20, 10 or 20, either one, or 15, whatever. We trying to hit 100,000 downloads this year, and I need your help. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the social media platforms at Slaying Self-Doubt. Until next week, see ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.